All right, everybody, welcome to, this is officially episode number 4, I believe it is, of the Rawbanderson show. We're back this week with Mr. Carl StudMan. Carl, thank you for coming on again today. You had your radio show this morning. I tuned in at 9. Just tell me how it went and, a little bit about that and the viewers, where they can tune in and how to find you on that show.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's Eastern time, which is Canadian time. It's on at 9 a.m. and then it's repeated at 6 p.m. and it's on o2radio.ca, and the show is called The Joy of Being. And yes, it went good, Rob. Today was only the 3rd show. And it's very exciting because we've had a lot of feedback from it, from people from all over the world, right? And they really resonate with it. And as I always say, if people see something in you that's good, that's happy, it's because it's in them. And so I put that message out today. So we're going to do a live concert that we got so much good feedback. The producers want me to do a live concert. So yeah, it went fantastic, really good.
Well, that's great to hear. I have to say, I tuned in all 3 weeks, so definitely it seems like it's improving. You're really getting in the flow of it, and you're finding your zone and your comfort with it. And it's super uplifting to have someone like you, because usually I'm being somebody who's like a light or whatever. Sometimes it's easy, you get dim once in a while, and it's nice to have somebody else. And just listening to you and just like, I'm like, man, Carl's a special guy. Like, your voice and how excited you are and how passionate you are. It's like, you can't listen to that and be not happy. So, it definitely, after yesterday was a tough day personally. And so getting up, I did my morning routine, my deep breathing exercises, and it was a rainy day this morning. So I opted for doing exercise inside. And just listening to your show, it just totally lifted me up. And even though it was rainy outside, it's just like, yeah, there's so much to be grateful for. And so, yeah, very uplifting show. And I wish you all the best with it in the future. And with the concert, what are the details regards to the concert? Do you know yet?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say, again, it takes one to know one, Rob. When you're uplifted by the messages, because that is within you, Mm-hmm. And yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Rob. Thanks for your support as well. You've been a great support. And it really is nice to get feedback, because, other people might think, oh, you're on the radio and, you're getting all this and all that. But quite often you don't get that, And funny enough, it seems to be sometimes that the people that don't support us are our own family. And it's so strange. And I don't know why that happens, I don't know whether we just take each other for granted when we're so close, and because it's you. Whereas friends like, oh my God, Carl, real friends, that is, real friends. So I want to tune into your show, and they do, and they listen to it, and I feel that I would be the same if my friend was starting a radio show. I'd listen to it, like, that's my friend. I'd be proud and be happy for him, So it's going great. And basically, as you know, the show is all about upliftment, because within such a crazy time right now, there hasn't been a time like this in the history of humanity, I don't believe. I know we've been through wars and that, but this is almost like a different war in a way. It's so crazy, and I don't want to get into what I believe in or what I don't believe in, but I know I've gone off topic there, Rob, but I will get back to the concert, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I've always said from the very start, we're all in this together. And it seems to me there seems to be a bit of an agenda about separating the people and getting the people who are having the vaccination to go against the people who aren't. And then when you've got a vaccination, you're fine. If you're wearing a mask, you're covered, right? And I say to everyone, stay together, stick together, because things are not adding up. The amount of people who are suffering on a deep level, children with mental health, suicide, people who can't have cancer treatments. There's more people dying of that than they are of this COVID. And a very, very limited amount of people will die. It's 99.9% that you will die of COVID. And that rules most people, the kids out and younger people. And I'm not saying that there is not a virus, but I really believe that they're pushing something that is causing much, much more of a problem. So the thing that they're saying they're trying to fix it is making much more of a problem on the planet. But anyway, getting back to the show, I had to say that, Rob, because I see so many people.
I agree with you 100%, Carl. And, you know, it's nice to hear you say that, because I feel like a lot of people, it is, you know, we can't dance around the subject. It's happening. And to ignore it and just, you know, it's nice to think positive and good thoughts and everything. And I think it's important to also say, hey, yeah, there's some things going on that aren't right. And we need to speak up, because just always agreeing and going with the crowd, you know, that's a slippery, dangerous slope. And that's what's gotten us here in the first place, is just blind faith to authority, and not authority for any good reason, not authority by vibration from a source of love, but authority by power and force. Or I wouldn't even say power, more force, right? And you're totally right about it's the ultimate divide. And so, yeah, I'm learning new ways to navigate it, because there's no handbook for it, right? So, you know, I appreciate you bringing it up, because it needs to be discussed. And you know, we have to discuss how it makes us feel every day, because that's important, because every day there's a new thing. It's a new lockdown, you know, a new business goes under, a new family member, you know, yeah, like you said, there's suicides, there's mental health issues. And people aren't really having a voice now. It's like, oh, well, if you don't toot the mask and vaccine horn, you're like a murderer, or you're an outcast, or you're a danger to society. And we're like, how did you get there? How did we get there? You know?
Well, so, Rob, I think what I feel, it's because they are pushing so much fear out that it's making people really scared of what's going on. But what we have to do, if we sit back and we look, if we were in Canada, a free country, or Britain, and there was tyranny happening in another country, and someone took it over, they took that country over, and there was no one could say anything. There was no debate. There was just, this is the way it is. That is called tyranny.
Yeah.
That is called tyranny. And what is not happening right now is there is no discussion from the top people. And there are a lot of top people, scientists, doctors, nurses, all over the world that are coming out, and they are being completely censored by the media, by the government. And so that is a thing that people have to ask a question. Well, that is not right. Why aren't they having conversations about this? Why are not they coming together? And how is the best way to deal with it? Because there's been an awful lot of facts that lockdowns has caused much more damage financially to businesses and health-wise to people who are terrified they're not getting the treatments for what they need. So that needs to be addressed in a big way, because more people are seeing what is going on, and people are really getting upset about it. And if we want love and peace on our planet, we need to talk about these things in an intelligent way. And you know, absolutely.
I agree 100%. And that's why I really resonate with you. And, you know, even on Sundays with the Quantum Lounge, we don't all necessarily see, you know, there's 8 of us. We don't all have the same views. We all have different roles. We're all different genders, different colors. You know, we're mothers, daughters, brothers, sisters, sons. You know, we all have different roles that we need to play in everyday life. But yes, we all come together every Sunday, and we're honest with each other about how it's affecting us, and we respect each other with the mutual reciprocity of letting the other person talk and trying to understand how it is for them, rather than saying, no, I don't like what you're saying, it's not my way. And that's what's happening, is the censorship is, it's like this little child who's playing in a sandbox, and he starts throwing sand to anybody who's not playing the same game he is. And it's very immature, and it's just childish, right? And you're 100% right. I don't see any serious high-level discussions, especially in Canada right now. I was telling Nicholas on I don't know if I told you, but I saw a video of people in Niagara Falls, and they actually flipped up a giant Canadian flag upside down, and with lights on it were flashing SOS across to the American side to say, hey, you know.
Yes, yeah, I heard you say it, Rob. And it's almost like that now, isn't it? You know, and yet we see other places. I mean, another thing too, you got to look at, like there was 1 million people in London, England last week.
Yeah.
One of the biggest demonstrations ever, without masks on, and people have got to understand that these people are not getting sick. These people, but that is not on the mainstream media. But if you look for it, you can find it, because now everyone has like a little phone, a little camera, and all these things are happening. But if you're only watching the mainstream media, you're getting a different picture of the reality of the planet, of what is happening right now. But what I always say is too, and Rob, you're right, we've all got our part to play. You know, some people might want to go to a demonstration and demonstrate for their rights, you know. I personally want to put a message out of, we're all in this together, you know, and everything is energy. And for our children's sake, we have to come together in an intelligent way, you know. And yeah, so hopefully more people realize that.
Yeah, you're right, Carl. And I was recently reading a book, and it was, I forget what it was called. It was, I think, something like The Most Important Thing in the Universe. It's one of these books that I found, and it was just incredible to hear the way they spoke about how we create a reality in alpha brainwaves and beta and theta, and how to get into those states. And I always wonder, it's how maybe, you know, the news and the way it affects us, and those frequencies, they don't allow us to get into those creative states to say, hey, maybe the world is a little bit different than I've seen, or I've looked through my narrow perspective, and to escape. And, you know, like I've always been the kind of person that I do a lot of research. I read a lot of books, and you know, sometimes people say, well, that, you know, that's so out there. You know, what's out there is not being able to question things. To me, it's like, I'd rather question things and be out there and use my imagination and say, oh, hey, what if, than just being told this is the way it has to be, and there's no discussion, right? So yeah, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all I had to say, is that the discussion's not happening, and it's becoming, like you said, tyranny, or almost like a fascist, like Nazi Germany. Like, it's just, yeah, it's borderline that. Like, if you've read books like the Gulag Archipelago and things, like, people forget the history of it, and it's we're bound to repeat it if we don't do something about it. Yep.
Rob, there's been Nobel Prize winners, Nobel Peace Prize winners that have been censored. People who've given their entire life to science and to the medical, to helping people. They've been completely deplatformed, you know? So we have to ask the question, why is that? Why are they not, why they've been deplatformed? Why haven't they had an open conversation about what's going on? But I'd like to speak to the viewers now. So if you're listening to me now, I'd like to tell you something about me. I'm a very grounded lad from Liverpool. I grew up in a very tough area. Yeah, I started martial arts, and I became self-empowered. I opened my own dojo when I came to Canada. But I really consider myself very grounded, but I had a massive change in my life, a shift in consciousness, and started to understand that we are energy. And everyone, the religious teachers have all spoke about it. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, scientists, Einstein, Tesla, they've all spoke about this energy. And right now we have a science on the planet that is proving it. You don't just need faith to pray. And I do believe in the power of prayer, because that is energy too. But you don't just need faith now. We have the science to back up that everything we feel, everything that goes in this mind of ours, the supercomputer, will create a feeling in your body. And if you're watching fearful things that you contract, your energy goes down, you create dis-ease in the body. So it's very easy to get colds. It breaks down your immune system, and you are then liable to get things much easier. So I started to realize these things. And when I did, this regular lad from Liverpool, I went, holy mackerel, this is who I am. So I looked into it more and more, and my life completely changed when I realized that everything is energy. And right now, on this spot, you can change your life. And if you don't believe it, you're not going to get it. But if you believe it, you will see coincidence happening more and more in your life, and you will learn to, if not be around people who gossip with low energy. You'll start to be around people like Rob with high energy, happiness, joy, people who want to bring you up and not bring you down. And it's very important.
Thanks. Well, great chat, and great, very inspirational. And thanks for the shout out to my energy. And that's, I think we resonate together. And I actually wanted to ask you, Carl, because the past few months getting to know each other, you mentioned a couple times, and we haven't really got to dig into it, what happened, but you said that you were in a wheelchair when you were younger. And I just wanted, if there's younger people going out there, I severed off the top part of my thumb. So I went through something, and it wasn't able to be reattached. It's nowhere near being in a wheelchair by any means, or having, but it is something that's traumatic that you have to deal with. And so what was the process for you as a young child? How did you get to be in the wheelchair, and how would you say you got out of it? And how did martial arts, if any, play a role in that? Okay.
From a young age, I was always very, very active. I loved football. You call it soccer in North America. And one day I was limping. I didn't even know it was my dad. I was 8 years of age, and I was limping. And my dad said, "You okay, Carl? What's up?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine." So I limped for about 3 months without pain. So my dad took me to the hospital. And that's going back a long time, because I'm 62 now, Rob. So that's going back, 54 years, 56 years, 56 years, no, 54 years. That's without a calculator. Anyway, so back then, they didn't, the science wasn't quite as good. I must have had 100 x-rays, which is a lot of radiation in x-rays, at least, before they finally discovered I had something that's called Perthes disease. But by the time they discovered what it was, after about 4 months of constant x-rays checking me out, I was starting to get pain then. I was getting pain in my lower leg, so my knee, but that's called transferred pain from the hip. So it was a hip, a disease called Perthes disease. So, well, I still remember being in the hospital when they gave me dad the diagnosis. He's going to be in a wheelchair for a couple of years, then he's going to have a walking iron on his leg. I still remember seeing my dad's face, and I never forget it. That's going back a long time, of course. So after being in the wheelchair for 2 years, 2.5 years, then I had an iron on my leg. So it was, altogether, it's about 2.5 to 3.5 years where I was the wheelchair and then the walking iron. At the age of 11, I started to walk again. So, but at the time I was in the wheelchair, I can't say it was hell, to be honest. I mean, I do remember times having to watch all the kids play soccer and being very, very sad, because I loved it and I couldn't play, So, and I got a bit of bullying, especially when I had the walking iron on my leg, because it was very much like Forrest Gump. Their minds that he had, very much like that. When I watch Forrest Gump, I cry. I think, oh my God, that brings back the memories, But then I got out of the wheelchair and just leading a regular life, playing a bit of soccer. But then at the age of 14, I seen a Bruce Lee movie that changed my life completely. That was all I wanted to do. So it was very hard, because my hip was I was quite a weak young lad, because of what I'd been through, and then no exercise for all them years, right? Well, I started, there's no Kung Fu clubs in the area, so I started karate, Shotokan karate. I was very, very lucky that, and I didn't know it at the time, but the standard in the north of England was some of the highest standards in the world. And I relate it to Canadian hockey. The Canadian hockey is probably one of the highest in the world. But yet most people think Japan, karate, and of course it originated from there. And I trained with a lot of the top karate Japanese masters. But Britain at the time was the world champions. And them in Japan, they were beating Japan on a regular basis. And the British team was mostly from Liverpool. And you can look up any of the names, Frank Brennan, Terry O'Neill, Bob Poynton. These names are, Frank Brennan became a legend. But anyway, I didn't realize that at the time. But it was very hard for me, Rob, because the training in karate, it's nearly all hips. You know, your front kick, side kick, round kick, high kicks. So it was very tough. But having trained in that on a regular basis for many, many years, it almost seemed to take away my ego, if you like. You know, it made me a sort of more of a compassionate person, because I'd already been in the wheelchair. So kids coming in the club had been bullied and things like that. I felt like a big responsibility to empower them, because really I became self-empowered, but I wanted to give that back to the kids. And that's why I train a lot of kids even now, but my training methods have changed quite a lot since I had my shift in consciousness, you know?
Yeah, thanks for explaining, you know, how you went through that, because it's just, I think people need to hear, you know, sometimes we get so inside our own bubbles of our lives, and, you know, being a young kid, you know, growing into a teenager, I was the same. I was bullied. We moved around a lot, so I was always the new kid when I was really young. I don't know. We moved quite a few times. I went to 2 different kindergartens, a different school in grade 1, a different school in grade 4, and then again in grade 7, and then grade 9. So it was like, you know, there was a little bit of consistency, but for a while it was always being the new kid. And I took Taekwondo for a few years when I was, I think, about 5 or 6, and then when I was in high school, I took jiu-jitsu as well. But I think it's interesting to, it's something that I would suggest all kids do if they're stuck at home right now. And you and I had chatted, hopefully we can, in the upcoming weeks and months, maybe do some at-home martial arts tutorial videos for people staying at home. And I think that's important, because it provides, you know, even the meditation aspect. I was joking around too, because I think I was telling you, when I was 6, it was like, I thought we were going to learn kicks and punches, you know, like I couldn't sit still, you know, like I didn't have the energy. So they would let me come in and train with the older kids who were higher up in the belts, and train with them, because I'd come in on Saturday mornings and do extra with them, you know, just because I wanted to learn so much. But it's the sense of discipline and mind mastery, like, even if you don't really fully get it, because, you know, you talk about different spiritual awakenings, and that's, you know, it's like that throughout your life, but it's such a great place to start. And I'll never forget that my sensei told me, he said, basically, if you ever get in a fight, you've already lost. And the only person that you have to battle is yourself, you know? And so that always stuck with me. And like, you know, I was telling you, I'm always willing to walk away. I don't even care if it makes me look like I don't have a big ego about it. Like, you know, sometimes friends used to make fun of me but it's like, walking away is just so much an easier thing, especially after you know, I wouldn't want to mess with you. Like, you're, you know, like if Carl's walking away, everybody else should just walk away. And that's the thing, that the people that you got to really not be worried about, but you got to understand that you don't know who that person is, and people provoke you. And it's almost like, you know, you don't know that this guy's not a black belt. So you shouldn't fight people you don't know, you know, and like,
some of the toughest guys I ever met, you would not dream what they could do. Some of the best senseis I've trained with in the world, Tak Kubota from Los Angeles, he's about 5'3". And this guy, what he would do, James Caan, the actor, has trained with him, and he trains a lot of the stars over there. But so many, Frank Brennan, the same thing, you would not dream what they could do. But what I've come to understand and truly realized too is bullies usually have been bullied. And I could always tell a bully as soon as I started training them, without even meeting the dad, usually the dad is a bully. Usually. Now, not always, but kids do not learn. I actually spoke about this in the radio this morning. They don't learn by what you tell them. They learn from what you do. And so kids who have been bullied usually turn out to become a bully. but not always, but quite often. And always, it's not always coming from the family, but quite often it is. So I say to all the parents, if you think your kid's a bully, cut it in the bud. Let us know, we can work together on these things, because usually a bully from a child, if he doesn't change, he's usually a bully as an adult as well. And again, it's something to be aware of, and something that we can help people with,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most important parts. Everybody thinks that martial arts or, and it just, now people call it MMA, because back when I was young, people didn't, it was like you kind of did one thing, right? Now there's so many people studying different disciplines, but I think discipline is the word. And to understand how you can control your thoughts and your breathing. And I wish, if I could go back now, it's like, I think, you and I discussed Wim Hof and the power of that. And it's like,
yes,
if I ever have kids, I'm going to teach them, meditation and the power of breathing, because I never really put the thought into, like, you think, I thought I knew what deep breathing was till I started doing Wim Hof. And I smoked cigarettes pretty much since the time I was 14, right? And I just quit this past year. And my like, some of the people in my family, they'd make fun of me because but I was still doing Wim Hof and jogging and stuff, but I was still smoking. And I was like, I know I have to just do this anyways. I know I'm not going to, this is how I have to quit smoking, right? Like, yeah. So they'd be like, your lung capacity is crazy, because I'd smoke a pack a day, but I could still run 10K, and that's not the healthiest way to quit smoking, I don't think, but it worked for me. But yeah, the power of breathing, and like Eckhart Tolle, and is it The Power of Now? I think the Orange Book, he spoke about that, telling a woman, I think it was, that if you could do one thing, just one thing for a year to change your life, aside from turning off the news, it would be to just focus on your breathing.
Absolutely.
And I've been doing Wim Hof for 2 years now. And I feel like it saved my life, like from panic attacks or a stroke or a heart attack. I don't know what I had, but I knew that Wim Hof helped me, because I was about to call 911 when my stepdad was in the hospital and business was falling apart. And, we were forced to move from our house. Like, everything was just, the world was exploding behind me. And I just said, okay, do Wim Hof for 20 minutes. And if whatever's happening doesn't get better, then I can call the ambulance or whatever I was going to do, because I was freaking out. And I just laid there and I did Wim Hof, and it just centered me in a way. And I don't know if I had a panic attack, or just an anxiety attack, but whatever it was, it hasn't happened since. And it's like, I can use the breathing now. I know that, yeah, it's just changed my life in a profound way. And doing hot and cold showers as well. And just getting into that ability to control your thoughts beyond the point of where you think you could, and I like the holding of the breath, and I time myself sometimes to see how long you can actually do it. And it's incredible, because the first time I did it, I couldn't even hold my breath for, it wasn't even 30 seconds. And then recently my best record is 3 minutes and 17 seconds. And I haven't expanded trying to go much further than that, but it's still interesting, right?
Yeah. I don't get out of bed of a morning, Rob, without doing it now. Yeah. I make it a habit. And I usually do now I've been doing it just over a year now, between 4 and 6 minutes. I do on my last round now.
Nice.
Consistently. And I feel absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's amazing. Anyone, if you're watching this call, give it a try, because it's amazing. Wim Hof is like a Superman. You check this guy out, you wouldn't believe what he can do at his age. And we can all do. Why I love Wim Hof is, first of all, his message is to bring love and peace to the world. How can you go against that? But this guy's a Superman. He holds his breath. I think Wim is probably about 55, 60 years of age. He's in incredible shape. He's got about 30 world records doing different things. And his inspiration is to let people know how amazing they are. And that's my message too. You're amazing, but we're not told we're amazing. We're told we're not good enough. We've always been told that. But when we understand the higher sciences of quantum physics, and Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and so many other people have shown what we're capable of, because we are energy, and because we are energy, we're capable of doing amazing things. But if you don't believe it, you're not going to do it, right? So you got to believe it.
Yeah, and you're totally right, Carl. And I hope that everybody else, because I'm working through these things as I go along too, and you have too. Like, it's a growing experience, right? You don't get this manual when you're born that says this is how you live the perfect life. You have to go through the trials and tribulations and the afflictions, and that's what really triggers. You and I have spoken at length about how trauma can be a great catalyst for spiritual awakenings, because it's in the.
Yeah, Rob, I'll tell you another thing too, and my mates will kill me if they watch a video and I haven't mentioned them. I've got one of my instructors, Terry O'Neill, became world karate champion, world champion, and he trained Arnold Schwarzenegger. We all know Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? In his movies, Commando, Red Sonja, Predator, anyway, a lot of his movies, Terry O'Neill trained him. So he's an instructor I trained with in Liverpool. Two of my friends became world heavyweight kickboxing champions. Chris Wright, who now lives in Australia, and Gary Sandland, who lives back in Liverpool still. But I'll tell you something, but both these guys said at a very young age. Chris was in his backyard in Liverpool, and he said, I'm going to be world kickboxing champion at the age of 10. Gary started kickboxing. We trained in karate for many years. I left England in 1988. Gary started kickboxing. I said, how long, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to win the world title. And then I think it was about 1991, 92, he became the first British world heavyweight kickboxing champ. And these guys are knocked around with. Well, Chris is 10 years younger than me. I got to know Chris after he'd become world champion. But Gary, we trained together for years. But they both made these statements. So my show today actually was about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is it's an energy. It's one of the laws of the universe. And again, most people probably have heard of The Secret, the worldwide documentary that Oprah made massive and it went all over the world. And since then, it's become a bit of a fad. But it is real, because what you put out there into the universe, it comes back to you.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's almost, it blows my mind how I learn more and more about how sensitive it is too. Because, you can, it's almost like, I don't know if you believe in timelines and things like that, but
yeah, I do.
You can almost change timelines based on how you're perceiving it, because you can either come from a place of fear and weakness, like, oh, like maybe I'm not cut out for this. Or you could just be the other way, be like I was made for this, and it's just the shift of perception and how you do it. And it's tough. You and I chatted on the phone this morning, and I don't think you ever know, you don't ever get to a point where you eliminate it completely. There's still going to be events that, you get upset. Maybe you get in a fight with one of your family members, and it's going to take the wind out of you, but you're not going to let it affect you for 4 days anymore, like you did in your 20s. You're going to say, okay, you know what? This is a situation. It's not the end of the world. We're going to get through it. It's, sometimes these little things in our lives, and it's just part of growing up. It feels like the end of the world, and I kind of went through that. If you lose something, and you told me, like when you went through your spiritual awakening about losing your dojo and a divorce with your wife and all, and that kind of is what I was talking about, the catalyst for change, going through these traumatic experiences and saying, hey, like when you lose everything you identify with, it's actually kind of a freeing experience, because you say, who am I?
Yeah.
And you're not just those things. You're not, and so many people self-identify, even people that are sick. I was having this discussion with a friend, is that they become almost a victim of their own demise, because they identify so much with their sickness that they keep, it's a self-perpetuating story, right? And I had a similar story like that with my knees. And when I was young, and I was diagnosed with Osgood-Schlatter's disease, and it was this, it could have been just the doctor said that maybe I didn't even have the disease. That's what, back in the 80s, like I didn't go see a specialist. So how do I know what, it's just his random opinion about my knees. It could have been, or growing pains, or because I did a lot of sports. So, extended them, but I just identified, and I stopped doing the things that I love because I was so worried about my bad knees my whole life. And then one day I was working and I saw a gentleman come in with a wheelchair with no legs. And from that day, I was like, man, here I am bitching about my bad knees. And this guy doesn't even have any knees. And from that day, I was like, fuck it. I'm not bitching about my knees anymore. I'm like, even my buddy, Danny, he taught me how to jog, and he's a really good boxer. He almost went to the Olympics. And so he taught me to be lighter on my feet. And so I started actually jogging. And to me, that was something that I never even fathomed of doing. I would mountain bike because it was less impact, but now it's, instead of being like, oh, I've got these bad knees my whole life, I just said, I'm so grateful to have knees, and I'm going to wear them into the ground. And if I destroy them, then I know that I got the most out of them. And since I started thinking like that, they've actually become way better, and I have more flexibility in them because I changed the thinking about them, and they're not perfect, but I do things now that I couldn't do 10 years ago,
Yeah. Couple of things, Rob. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Going back before you were talking about was teaching kids online, and yeah, totally. That I'd love to do that. So any people watching it, they can get in contact with you. The other thing was that you mentioned Eckhart Tolle, and I think I mentioned in the last video. I've done a lot of interviews, right? And I nearly always mention Eckhart Tolle because it changed my life. And the book you're talking about, The Power of Now, that's the green one. The other book is A New Earth.
Ah, yes.
I'm one of his #1 fans, so I know everything about Eckhart. But his wisdom is so profound that we can all do it. And it all starts by being the observer of your thoughts. So when you're thinking a thought, who is that? Thinking about your thinking. It's the observer. It's almost like you're observing yourself, you're self-aware. And so if you do it on a regular basis, oh, I'm thinking our thoughts again. So your observer keeps coming in. It becomes a habit to become self-aware. And I'm not saying you can do it 100% all the time, but as soon as you catch yourself thinking that same old negative thought, you break out of it. As soon as you, I'm out of it again, good. And the more you do that, because sabotaging thoughts are probably one of the worst things to bring your energy low. And it's been many documentaries about, we think of a negative thought much more than most people than a positive thought. Like 10 people in the day could, be nice to you, but one person could be really nasty to you. You probably think about that nasty one more. So that it's always that negative one that stays there. So really be an observer of your own thoughts. And that alone could change your life in a massive way. Be an observer of your thoughts, switch off the negative TV, get rid of negative people in your life. Because why do you want to be with a negative person who brings you down in your life? Who wants to do that? Who wants to be with that,
100%. And I think that's what a lot of people, maybe it's different for some, depending on how you were raised or where you grew up. People in bigger cities, they might feel a little more connected to others, but in rural areas where there's not a lot of culture and stuff, it's easy to feel isolated, right? And I think some people, it's really hard to find people who are spiritually awake or and we talked on Sunday night about people can't give what they don't have. So if people, and you said bullies raise bullies kind of thing. And that's what I've found is that sometimes in smaller towns, not all the time, but it's easy to have, a small town mentality where people get sucked into this divide, and it's almost like one side of the tracks versus the other. And, it can be a dangerous place. And so that's why I think people having the ability nowadays, being so connected, there's kind of a bonus side, I think, to the lockdown, is that people are reaching out and connecting in a way that, if we weren't on lockdown, you and I might have never connected. I might not have never gone on Nicholas's show. You wouldn't have seen me. You wouldn't have reached out. And look, so I'm grateful for that in a way. So I'm looking at, as terrible as this lockdown is, there's silver linings in everything. Yeah. So, it's I don't want to use the word great reset because that's the one that our government uses, but to me, it's there's something happening right now, and however you want to look at it, there's a shift. I'm grateful for it in ways. And it's scary. It's unprecedented. Like you say, I don't know where it's going. I look at multiple timelines. I think that I don't think we're going to have a global war or anything like that. I think we're on the, on the positive side.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of hope, but it is for people, some people, it is still scary because here in Ontario, the fear mongering, whether or not people are in real jeopardy, like you said, the mines, some people that are so like, older people that are in these long-term care facilities and stuff that don't really have a connection and that are being cut off. It's like cutting off the elders from their lifeline connection. And it's so unhealthy. And that's what breaks my heart is the kids and the older people. Like, I'm going to be fine. I'm 37. I'm resilient. I'm healthier now than I've ever been. I think I can get through the psychological damage. I've been through a lot worse, spiritually and emotionally and publicly than I think that this has hurt me. But I worry about, some of the old folks and some of the younger kids. My nephews and I have a lot of, friends who their kids, and cousins who I'm Uncle Robbie to. And it's like, it's sad to see that they think that they've got a disease, even though they don't. Like they say, they think they've got bugs or cooties or whatever. Like some of the things they're being taught is very toxic,
Yeah, I'm very hopeful, Rob. I really am.
Yeah.
Because even the old way wasn't working, so we can't go back to normal. No, we've got humanity was made for magnificence. Humanity, we are capable of so many amazing things. There are so many technologies out there that have been suppressed. And I believe these are all going to come out. We're going into an incredible future. And my part to play in this, and I feel I incarnated on this planet to self-empower myself, to be able to speak, to go on stage and sing and talk, and let people know that you're amazing, you can do anything, but you just got to believe it, And there's 7 or 8 billion nearly now on the planet, right? If we all put our energy of like, oh, it's disaster, that's what we're going to get. The more people that wake up, I feel very blessed because I know there's no such thing as death, Rob. I'm really, really, I know there's not, it's not just faith. I know it all. After my experience in that, I felt so connected. So if people understand there is a God, or whatever you want to call that eternal energy, and it's in us, and we are magnificent, and we put that energy out in the world, and we take care of each other and come together, no matter what color we are, no matter what religion we are, we're all as one with the same quantum physics. Is proven we're all connected, and we come together, we're going to make it a magnificent planet. And before I get, Rob, you asked me about the concerts, but I went all over the world.
That's okay. I love it. I love it. It's like, that's what I want is the flow. I love the conversations. That's what I want this show to be about, is just two guys having a conversation, really, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be, they only told me last night that, because the shows come today, so they called me, said, Carl, the feedback on the shows have been incredible. So please, thank people, whatever. So I put a message on, as you probably heard this morning of the show, that, I'm thanking people and letting them know that the show's going to be, I'm going to do a lot, because I really miss performing. I love doing live shows, right? And I always like to interact with the audience. So it's going to be a combination of songs and maybe bit of talking in between, a bit of laughter, I'll be doing it online. We've got to find a nice place where we're going to shoot it, where they've got like a nice stage or something. But I have some ideas in this area. If anyone knows a place that's got like a recording or a nice stage with lights, let us know. But I think it's going to be, we're going to be doing it in about 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. So really excited about that.
Awesome. I also wanted to, before I forget, because I wanted to ask you about your shirt and the symbol on your shirt, and that's.
Yeah, this is the martial arts club that I actually opened up, but one of my black belts took it over, because after my shift in consciousness, I think I told you, it went from the Liverpool School of Martial Arts to the Harmony Centre. So I changed the name and I used this. this is a Mayan sign. And the Mayans are the ones who spoke about 2012, not the end of the world. I've got a song actually, Rob, 2012, it's on YouTube. And it's all about the new shift, what's coming in, which did happen, that energy. A lot of people around that time and before, and even now, people are having these shifts all over the planet. But this is all about the shift in consciousness that humanity is going through, which we are right now. We're seeing it every day. Of people are, waking up to knowing that they're part of this great universe of God, whatever you want to call that, divine energy. We're all part of it. So that's what that's all about.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And so I guess just to finish up, it's coming up on 6 and we're both going on to David's call tonight. So it's going to be a busy night. So I want us to both have a chance to have a breather and have some dinner. So I wanted to say, first of all, I posted up the Quantum Lounge. Thank you for getting everybody together on that, because that's been really cool. And I think there's something special there. And we all chatted about it, and this week we're discussing how to move forward with it from a business perspective. And I think everybody really sees that we can do something there with it from a business perspective. But I think, regardless, we're going to have our call I don't think that'll ever stop, just the group of 8 having our call. But tell everybody a little bit about the Quantum Lounge. I think you mentioned it in the first call. Where is it now? I know because I'm there and a part of it, but just for the people that are listening that maybe haven't seen it yet, let them know where your inspiration from it came from and where we are now and what to expect kind of in the upcoming weeks. Because I know that you made some cool connections this week and there's lots of good energy around it, right? Yeah.
But what it was, I've for years, as a little kid, I wanted to change the world. And just over the last couple of years, I thought, it's time to do something to give people a message. Because as I just mentioned before, there are people that are having a shift in consciousness. And when you first start to go through this, it feels so different from the way it was before. Because all of a sudden, you're connected to God or a universal energy, whatever you want to call that. You're connected. So it's happening all over the world. It might be happening to you right now. And when it does happen, you're not quite sure what is going on. And you need other people that maybe can talk to you about like how you feel and, what is going on. So the Quantum Lounge, I got 8 people together. Rob is one of 7, including myself, there's 8. And the people were all doing things in the world, trying to make the world a better place, each one of them in their own right. So I reached out, and I've known them for years. Rob's the newest one in our clan, but everyone else I've known for years. And I called and said, how would you feel about coming together collectively and starting something called the Quantum Lounge? And the Quantum Lounge is going to be a place where you can go, and we're going to have conversations, we're going to have live shows, we're going to have entertainment. We're going to give, it's going to be a platform for people who want to make the world a better place and also want to know answers for certain things. It's all about love and peace and great energy.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us, Carl, and putting it so succinctly together. And I'm excited to be a part of it. And I think it's just a unique opportunity because everybody's different, but we're all connected and on the same level. And it's just really exciting to work together. And I'm looking forward to this Sunday because we're all doing the homework that David gave us, so that's going to be fun. I know you already shared it with us this past week privately, so that's cool. So I guess, do you have anything else that you want to say as a closing message to everybody out there?
No, all good, Rob. People want to go to my radio show. It's on Thursdays at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. I think I said that before, if they're in Canada. But for anyone else who's watching in the world, watching this video, you can work out the time schedule. 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern, and Greenwich Mean Time, which is England, is 2 p.m. in the afternoon and 11 o'clock at night every Thursday.
I'll put the links down for everybody so the listeners know that it's O2 and like the letter O, TUNE, like music tunes, so otune.ca. So I'll put the links down there so that everybody can check it out, and I would suggest that you do. So thanks again for coming on, Carl. I'm going to stop recording right now, and you and I can have just a quick chat before we sign off for the evening. But yeah, thanks once again, and wave bye to everybody.
Yeah, take care, guys. Don't forget, you are the champion. You have the champion inside you. You can do anything.
Let's leave it at that. Take care, everybody. Bye.